morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Tuesday, April 9th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card we are starting our day off with today is our Knight of Swords in its upright, masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency. One of the things that we are seeing is a lot of the work leading up to the energy of this eclipse cycle was helping to set the path work in relation to how to move forward. We recognized and identified that for a lot of the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency right now, this could have been a moment of recognizing and identifying, having inadvertently moved towards manifestation goals or finding yourself in manifestation goals that you may have intentionally or set out for yourself at the time of first entering the divine union frequency. That ability to recognize this, that ability to do that path work that we saw was so energetically important and necessary, being able to feel like you're energetically on the same page, being able to assess and see how far you've come, recognize how far you desire to go, but then also having almost like that energetic check-in, you will, to make sure that not only are you physically moving in the same direction, but you're still energetically feeling the same way about that direction. That is what's really creating and being able to take a lot of this intensity, which I did stress over the last few days, had that ability to potentially allow for some triggering situations or scenarios. But this is that moment of really being able to drive that direction forward. You know, once you're able to feel that sense of energetic confidence, that helps you like steer that energetic ship. So we see that for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency right now, that ability of feeling that sense of energetic support and confidence is now amplifying and speeding up your own progress forward. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency. This energy was moving so deeply into the heart of the divine union frequency over the last few days. And this eclipse cycle really intensified and built that bond for a lot of those energetic connections. I'll be completely honest. I even saw that for a lot of the energy right now, we may have seen a lot of connections deepening during this cycle, having that moment that may have expressed itself in tangible, energetic partnerships becoming more solidified, making more energetic accommodations, really kind of like letting that be that affirmational point, because that was the intensification of a bond that was leading to that feeling of deeper energetic union. So that in itself is also really focusing a lot of that energy feeling like they've done a lot of the work on a spiritual and emotional place to make sure that they're both energetically on the same page. And that's what's allowing that freedom of movement, potentially even speeding up plans, if you will, to make those energetic or emotional connections more physically tangible in the realm of making energetic changes, coming into deeper union in the physical space. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is that modality that feels like like a lot of that catharsis, a lot of that heavy work we saw and recognized that was happening during this eclipse cycle. What we appreciate and value about this is not creating a state or space of wanting to energetically go backwards. Rather, these are moments of being able to observe the past, looking to the past with a lot of clarity and a lot of purpose, and that being ability to look at the past, not want to energetically return to it, but almost, as I said, feeling like you've learned some kind of valuable energetic lesson. This is what is helping to propel the energy forward. For feminine, a lot of that energetic lesson in separation right now is, again, honesty is valuable and important on the part of receiving from the masculine, but also needing to see a masculine that desires the same things that you want to desire. We even see right now a lot of the feminine energy is almost holding back and opening up about their manifestation goals to masculine until they see the ability of the masculine to do the same as well. Because feminine's recognizing and realizing that act of intimacy, being able to be open and authentic, but then really have that sense of bravery to be able to push forward and be able to articulate on one's own intentionality, that isn't something that the feminine can provide the masculine. Rather, it's something that the feminine needs to observe in the masculine. So we almost see that this is a lot of the feminine energy making a lot of that intentional choice. And for the feminine energy to come into that sense of energetic resilience, that almost feels like, again, saying, I won't be able to energetically miss an energy that's moving towards me in that way, because it becomes self-evident when the masculine has found that purpose from within. Masculine energy in separation right now. If these are places or spaces where you are doing a lot of that internal work during this eclipse cycle, having that point of even potentially having some kind of energetic breakthroughs in relationality to the connection points that you are making with feminine, operating from a space of openness and honesty and clarity, you may have also started to realize and recognize that that honesty and openness wasn't energetically enough. Rather, being able to build that sense of personal intention, understanding and recognizing that that's not something that you can even you need to find within yourself before you can bring forth to the feminine. We see that that is creating this space of the masculine becoming that energy, doing that type of work, building that sense of energetic purpose, allowing that to really be their guidepost that's setting the path moving forward. And what we love about this for masculine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, this is that moment that may feel more like the amplification point of energetic conviction. We even identified and recognized that for some of the masculine energy, that ability to identify and see that you might not necessarily feel ready for divine union right now. Sometimes that's a moment that feels like that's the expression of truly being ready for it, because it's that moment that you understand exactly how much something energetically takes that helps to really steer your direction. So what we like about this for the masculine energy and separation right now is a lot of that eclipse intensity is really helping to ascertain and to firm up your own intentionality, your own purpose, your own conviction. So this is some really beautiful ability to see right now coming out of this eclipse cycle, because this is that moment that feels like the focusing of what may have felt like it was a bit more triggering energy over the last few days. Masculine and feminine energy coming into second card for today's spread. I'm not surprised to see it. And if this card looks familiar, my friends, it is because it is the last card that we ended our reading with on Saturday. We have here our Four of Swords in its upright, masculine and feminine energy. In separation right now, this is that sense of being able to take whatever's coming back from the past right now, be it energetically or tangibly, and being able to apply it in practical ways, spaces, and places that feels like is not just something that's energetically lingering, it's being able to drive you forward. This is exactly the type of energy that we want to see when we have such intense energy as we still do, because there's still a lot of this energetic intensity that is lingering. And a lot of that is, again, some of that energetic buildup from the past, being able to observe the past with a new sense of clarity. But again, what is important about being able to utilize the past, being able to help it not pull you back to the past, building that sense of energetic conviction in relationality to what you can either change in the present that is informed upon what we've learned in the past. Masculine, this could be a moment. Again, what did we be seeing that was a bit problematic for a lot of the masculine energy, going through what we best describe as energetic breakthroughs or points of crises right now. That sense of feeling like you're having an energetic breakthrough, but almost that feeling of it feeling like it was opening doors, creating new possibilities in terms of where you were going to take that energetic lesson. This is the energy of the masculine in separation, building that sense of energetic clarity for themselves. And what we appreciate that about this right now is, even if this is masculine, going back to situations or circumstances from the past, this is the masculine energy doing it with a heightened sense of energetic conviction. This isn't a masculine that's just going back to situations from the past with a sense of openness. This is the masculine either looking at the past, having that point of understanding, letting it guide them forward into new possibilities and opportunities, or this is masculine energy that's able to see something from the past that they now understand why it didn't work, what they need to correct, i.e. taking accountability and having conviction in being able to change something and being able to go back to change it. So we see, if anything, what's really valuable for a lot of the masculine in separation right now is this is the commitment to whatever that pathwork is, whatever direction that takes you. And that is going to change on a case-by-case basis. The collective can only go so far when we talk about what that directionality is. Feminine energy, this is that moment of having that sense of internal resilience arriving, potentially understanding and identifying, looking towards the past. And is that the energy of the feminine running back to a past experience or circumstance? No, this is the conviction of the feminine in separation present, because this is that moment energetically that we see that the feminine energy recognizes and appreciates that when masculine energy comes towards feminine from a state of openness and intentionality, you can't miss it. You can't energetically miss it. The feminine doesn't need to go seeking it, because that's the feminine energy saying when the masculine energy has that, they know where to energetically find me. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the coming into the divine union frequency, you've energetically found this right now. And what's beautiful about this energy for both masculine and feminine energy is that moment of feeling the certainty of conviction, even in the presence of the past feeling like it is rising back to the surface. Because that moment of the past rising back to the surface allows us for a continual moment of energetic self-review. Is this energy looking back to the past right now and rushing back to it? No, it's driving forward even with the past rising back up, because that is the ability of feeling the value and importance of not feeling like you would energetically change something from the past. But then the minute you're able to look back on something from the past and say, I'm not looking at a space or place where I feel like I need to energetically change something, that is that moment that the past is serving as an important, valuable lesson in the present. Being able to look at it with that sense of energetic optics, i.e. wisdom, that's helping you steer your like GPS system forward. And that's that moment that it's not that moment of trying to close the door on the past. It is almost looking at the past as some kind of energetic map to say, I need to understand what didn't go right so that I know how to move forward in the best way possible. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency. This is a lot of the energetic unpacking that we were seeing over the last few days that was so difficult, because a lot of that had to do with how much you have energetically changed from coming into the heart of the divine union. That is also a moment of not wanting to turn a blind eye, especially if there was some kind of intensity moment or buildup that occurred over the last few days, because that was that moment that we saw that for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency, almost feeling like that molehill that became an energetic mountain due to the intensity that you were experiencing. That was almost something that felt like it was energetically helpful, because that was the moment that we see that for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency, wanting to get into that level or degree of fastidiousness is wanting to be able to navigate a problem, a small problem, before it becomes a larger problem. And that's why we see that even now, some of that intensification point that was occurring during this eclipse cycle, it may have almost felt like a gift, because it may have felt like a magnifying glass that was shown on something that needed to be navigated or better managed, right? How do we fix something unless we can see it clearly? So this is almost that moment. If there was an intensification point for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency, that is that moment of effectively not wanting to turn a blind eye to it, if you will, but almost utilizing that and feeling like, even though it may be feeling like it's coming, like the energy is coming back down, it's still something that you can be able to navigate. It's almost like that gift, because that is the gift that the Mercury retrograde allows us. The Mercury retrograde does not create problems where problems don't exist. It shines a light on fracture points to help us come out of our own cycles, to help us recognize our own habits, to really ask ourselves if the things we're doing are truly serving us, or if there are better efficiencies that we can come up with as we continue to move forward, right? That is the gift of the Mercury retrograde system, the Mercury retrograde in combination with the eclipse energy, which is heightening a lot of that intensity. Third card in our 5-card spread for today is Two of Cups in its reversal. And that is why we see, even for a lot of the energy right now, in the heart of the divine union frequency, if there were moments or modalities where something about that intensity created what may have felt like some kind of energetic fracture point, this is that moment that we're almost energetically observing, that is that point that feels like a gift, because it is showing something that needs some kind of energetic repair, right? That is that moment of seeing some kind of fault or crack or faltering point. And what does the energy in the divine union frequency do? Do they exacerbate that? Do they try to like amplify what the separation point is? No. You move towards it with a sense of curiosity. You move towards it with a sense of like deepening understanding, because that's the ability of seeing what doesn't work to be able to figure out how to make it work. So what do we see is happening right now for a lot of the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency is that moment of looking towards anything that may have caused something that felt more like a difficulty, to be able to say, that is a gift. That is an opportunity, because now that we see something, we can energetically fix it. So even now, this is that point, and that's the difference between dwelling on something from the past that's happened and just wanting to put a wall up, as it were, because of it, versus being able to mutually meet each other at a point and say, this is something that we both clearly need to work on. This is something that needs to be energetically addressed. So we see that for a lot of that energy right now in the divine union frequency, this could be looking back on something right now that may have happened over the last few days or even the last few weeks, to be able to say, we're not going to turn a blind eye to that, but we're going to investigate that deeper to be able to come into better harmony. Because what did we recognize is happening right now for a lot of this energy? A lot of this energy in the divine union frequency, ascertaining and making sure that you're energetically on the same page. Maybe you're tangibly there, but wanting to make sure that you're energetically experiencing something from the same way is very valuable and important. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency right now. This is that moment that we see a lot of energetic understanding is coming through right now. For a lot of the energy coming into the divine union, what we're identifying is happening. It's going to feel like a little bit more of a positive moment. Because this is that moment that while there may be that sense of the past coming back up to the surface, we don't see that this energy here is looking back at some kind of past relationship or experience with that need or desire to go back to it. It's building the amplification point and the conviction of going forward right now. That is that observational point, if you will, and being able to see something from the past, but not even, and even if it feels like it's energetically difficult, you immediately get that catharsis point in feeling the relief and saying, I understand now that while something may not necessarily have worked, maybe there was a partnership that did not serve, maybe there was a situation that I was in that I was not able to find balance in. The ability to now look back at that, to compare that to where you are presently, and suddenly recognize or identify something from that past experience that you can take forth in the present to help you in a moment. That is that moment that immediately leads to that sense of energetic catharsis, because that's that moment that we say to ourselves, well, I would never desire or hope to have a past partnership that did not come into alignment. That now is letting that point have some kind of energetic purpose, letting it feel like that pain serves some kind of energetic purpose and helping you build that sense of conviction and what you can do in the present to help modify and ease something from your energetic past. What is the energy and separation doing? Exact same work. For a lot of the feminine energy and separation right now, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, that moment or opportunity of seeing masculine coming towards you. I want to say halfway healed, if you will. Potentially even seeing masculine that may be having the authenticity there, but is still lacking the intentionality. This is the feminine energy, again, almost saying to the masculine coming towards him in this way, I can't energetically repeat a cycle. I don't wish to go back through an energetic lesson that I may have already learned. And this is, again, that feminine energy saying to the masculine, I'm not saying that there isn't potentially a partnership here. I'm saying that we both have to desire it. I'm saying that we both have to equally be able to say that this is what I want to move towards. So we see even now this could be a feminine energy, pumping the brakes, if you will, towards some masculine energy that's coming towards them in this fashion, but not, this is the feminine energy, almost saying to the masculine, during the eclipse season with the combination of the Mercury retrograde, don't misunderstand me. Don't misunderstand me. This isn't me energetically saying that there isn't something here that isn't possible. This is almost the feminine energy saying to the masculine, it just seems like you're not energetically ready, right? For masculine, making sure, I'm going to say this in separation right now, making sure if there's a feminine energy coming towards you right now and saying it doesn't seem like you're energetically ready, understand that that's not the feminine energy trying to energetically reject you to a certain extent. That's potentially the feminine energy saying, as I'm saying to you, it seems like you're very authentic, but it seems like you're very authentic about the fact that you don't seem like you know what you energetically want. So what is a feminine energy going to say to a masculine if the masculine is coming towards them with honesty but seems like they're lacking intentionality? They're going to say to the masculine, it seems like you're only halfway through your healing journey. It seems like you need to be able to choose me. You need to be able to prioritize what type of connection you want. You need to be able to articulate it in order for us to be able to facilitate that. So we see that for a lot of the masculine right now, that modality is, again, building a sense of understanding on some kind of connection point in the past that may have ended under those circumstances, Or this is a moment of feeling that validation point or understanding, if that's happening in the present, having that sense of deepening understanding on what the feminine energy means, having that energetic breakthrough right now, especially if you're leading forth with openness and honesty and clarity. Because that is the masculine saying, I understand now that that's not an act of you energetically rejecting me. That is a moment of you trying to show me that what I'm bringing forth to you doesn't feel like it has the clarity in terms of telling you what it is that I truly desire. Why? Because revealing your heart's desire is a very fragile thing. It's very hard. Fourth card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here our 10 of Wands, and it's upright. What did I say? It's a hard energetic thing. It's extremely energetically difficult to do this type of work. This is some like heavy lifting for masculine energy, doing this type of work, to being able to try to blend both the intentionality of purpose, taking one's own intentionality, combining it with honesty. That feels like, again, a Herculean task, because it feels like the heart of intimacy. This is really hard for masculine energy that's working through this, because this is that moment that feels so like such a point of deep and energetic exposure to have to bring that forth to a feminine. So right now, even now, for the masculine energy potentially experiencing this right now, this is a moment that almost is helping the masculine understand what the task at hand is. Because this is either a masculine energy that's experiencing this right now from a feminine that's saying, again, it seems like there's some potential viability of a connection here, but it just seems like you're still doing that work. You're still not exactly there yet. And the masculine is potentially affirming the feminine and saying, yeah, I see that too. But again, and this could be a moment that helps you firm up your own conviction and being able to do that Herculean work of being able to tell the feminine like what it is that you desire and like truly want going forward, right? Look how hard this is to do. Or this is effectively the masculine energy building that resolve in one's own self, building that sense of clarity, building that sense of purpose, setting that energetic intention. And that energetic intention is either, again, committing oneself to the path work of doing this going forward, right, into the unknown, or seeing that path of energetic correction, understanding to a certain extent what needs to be fixed, what needs to be corrected, what needs to be served, what in the past was not, like having that deepening understanding of what you can correct now for a past experience, maybe leading you back in that direction. But again, recognizing and understanding exactly how much you need to work to be able to facilitate or fix something here. Masculine and feminine energy that is coming into the divine union frequency. This is the intention setting. Look at this. What's beautiful about this, and we have this happen all the time. Mercury retrogrades, they bring the past back up. They just bring the past back up over and over and over again. And what are we energetically seeing right now for a lot of the energy coming into the divine union frequency? We are recognizing and identifying that for a lot of the energy coming in the divine union frequency, having this moment of the energetic past coming back up, either in a tangible way or in a metaphysical one. The ability to have it come back up and not have it make you lose your direction sense, in a way, it almost reaffirms your own energetic commitment point. That is that moment that really feels like the heart of commitment, because that is that moment that feels like, even though it's that sense of understanding that when we move forward in an energetic commitment, it's not that the past doesn't pop back up. That always happens. It's how we energetically address it. It's how we navigate it. It's how we feel about it. That, again, that difference between having it get you off course versus energetically steer you further into the connection. And what do we see is energetically happening here? This is the energy right now in the heart of the divine union frequency that is like energetically staying the course, if you will. They're maintaining that focus. They're maintaining that energetic certainty. There's that moment of being able to see the past with either a new sense of clarity or almost feeling like that sense of energetic catharsis, because it's the ability of looking towards the past of the situations or scenarios that didn't work and feeling like they're giving you what you need to make something work in the present. That is that gift that the past provides when we're able to truly experience it rising back up, but we're able to energetically face it. with our sense of intentionality and purpose. Now, masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency, one of the things that we're energetically seeing right now, masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency. Energy in the heart of the divine union frequency right now. What are we energetically seeing? We are energetically seeing that there's something here that's happening that is requiring that sense of assessment. And I need to stress, we saw that there was a point of understanding and recognizing right now that for a lot of the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency, the last few days, I'll put it this way, it's been triggering. We see that there's a lot of energetic intensity here, and these energies in the heart of the divine union frequency are they're so tightly bound that there's very little room for like feeling and like any like it's like disturbance in the force kind of energy. I'm going to put it that way. When you're in divine union frequency and you're so energetically connected to someone, it's like that moment of feeling like the disturbance in the force. And that could have been like that moment of energetically feeling triggered, even if there was something that wasn't there to trigger you. Sensing something's off, just feeling like someone's off, looking at someone and being like, are you okay? Having that sense of being able to really drill down and to look at someone and say, listen, I can tell when you're not energetically okay. Knowing that energy from like, that's that point of being able to read another person's energy, the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency. That's that sense of being able to identify and recognize that, which just creates that point. I told you the intensity over the last few days for a lot of the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency may have felt very much like molehills that were being made into mountains. But why is that helpful? Why for the energy in the divine union frequency is that helpful? Because that's at a moment of saying, this is something that's nothing, right? This could even have been situations that felt like something nothing was getting amplified. But that's because in the energy of the divine union frequency, they're in so much attunement. Then that moment is like, no, there isn't anything that's nothing. That's that moment of saying, even if it's small, let's energetically address it. Because this is the energy. What is the energy in the divine union frequency saying? Small things can become big things very quickly. With enough time, that small thing rolling down the hill can become a big thing. So that's that energy of saying, let's address something small now so that it doesn't become a big thing. And if something over the last few days, that intensity, that buildup made something feel bigger, that was the gift of it, because it almost gave you a little bit of pregame on what might energetically happen were something to feel like it was intensifying, right? That's that ability, that's the gift of the energy in the retrograde with the combination of the eclipse energy. Fifth card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here our 3 of Cups in its reversal. Now, masculine, in fact, it's not a cozy feeling. I got to stress, this eclipse cycle in combination with the Mercury retrograde, it's one of those moments or opportunities that we're seeing. I was describing it as like, it's like scratchy sweater feeling, right? It's like that moment that you're like, get off of me. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little bit of that, if you will, right? It's that feeling of like, what is that feeling? What is that like spiritual, energetic feeling you have that just feels like everything is a scratchy sweater? That's heightened sensitivity. Like, that's literally heightened sensitivity. So if you noticed, I was telling you guys in the readings over the last few days, remember when I was begging you on Saturday not to let yourself get triggered, ground the energy, because it's going to pass. It's going to energetically pass, making sure to apply it in a practical way, not making something energetically worse, just recognizing that it's like that intense feeling, just being able to, and then doing that important work. What was the important work that you could do during that time? Looking at it, feeling like, oh, thank you for thank you for taking this and giving me a little bit of a microscope on it. Now I can see it clearer. Like, thank you, just magnified it for me. Okay, this is good. Let me look at this now. Is this something that's happening within or without me? What's blocking you from your manifestation goal? Is this a feeling that you're carrying in you? Is this something that needs to change within? Is there something that can be modified without to make it a little bit easier? Remembering and identifying that the way you energetically feel now doesn't matter what manifestation goal you go towards. You're going to be the same person when you get there. That ability of being able to ascertain and assess whether something was happening that needed to be adjusted or accommodated for internally or externally is helping energy right now recognize and identify if they're still on the same path in relationality to where the manifestation goals are going, because there's no point in moving towards a manifestation goal if you don't feel the sense of energetic harmony that you would desire in the present moment. Because that is the difference in feeling that energetic contentment and allowing that sense of positivity as you steer from manifestation goal to manifestation goal to manifestation goal. That's called inner peace. That's called that harmony, right? That's called finding the energetic frequency, right? Versus spaces and places that may have felt more like they require that sense of external accommodation. Like taking that feeling and saying, yeah, this isn't feeling right for me anymore. I need to come into an accommodation point. I need to make some kind of tangible change, because that is the identification point of what feels like it is the external adjustment point versus what is the tangible adjustment point. And so for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency, this could be moving forward right now and addressing what may have energetically created some feeling of energetic disruption while experiencing that intensity. Because that is that point that's helping to navigate. It creates a point of navigation in terms of how you're energetically feeling and what you need to do to accommodate to change for that. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency. This is a little bit more of like leaving it all behind, letting it go. It's going to feel more like that sense of like just sweeping it out the wind, like just sweep it out the door kind of energy, because a lot of this energy that's coming into divine union right now, that is that feeling that anything that felt like that was creating that energetic disruption point. It's that moment that we're seeing that it feels much more externalized at this time. This is energy that's looking at situations or circumstances and saying that whatever feels like it was creating that energetic disruption over the last days or weeks, it didn't feel like it was pulling you apart. It felt like it was bringing you tighter together, right? So what is this energy now doing in the sense of feeling that tightening or that intensity of the energy? That like even if there was disruption around you, it just felt like it was bringing you closer together. Now you're utilizing that feeling to potentially speed up a lot of those changes that you were hoping to make, because that could have even been that. I even told you guys, like letting you decide, making sure that you weren't making any hasty decisions during that the eclipse energy was so important, because that is that moment of, again, still feeling and recognizing and saying, do we still feel like we did like a couple days ago? Because that's that moment that is like, again, affirming like what may have felt like a fast, hasty decision that was made, and now putting the energetic plan behind it, because that is this softening that I told you was going to happen of the energy that felt like it was the amplification point and now is coming into a state of easement. That's that, like, let's not be hasty, but let's also like figure out what that directionality is. Masculine and feminine energy in separation. This is that feeling, and this is that energetic like catharsis point in relationality to experiencing and understanding what it is that you truly desire going forward from this point. Now, feminine energy, a lot of this is going to feel like energetic conviction. There's a lot of energetic resiliency that we see is occurring right now for a lot of the feminine energy and separation. And that is simply, look, this is simply that moment, and this is what's so valuable and important during this time for a lot of the feminine energy and separation. Because what we're seeing to a certain extent is for a lot of this feminine energy and separation, the last few days may have felt like a lot of that intensity, a lot of those experiences from the past rising back up, either metaphysically or potentially even tangibly right now, okay? But what is happening for a lot of the feminine energy that is in separation, that ability to navigate, to look back on circumstances and situations, to ask oneself if you would do anything differently, if this is feminine energy going, no. Feeling that constant cycle of, again, the feminine saying, is there something, like that is the self-review going, is there something that I would accommodate and change? Is there something I would accommodate and change? And if this is the feminine energy going, well, if the only thing I would accommodate or change is trying to do something to facilitate change on the side of the masculine, this is the feminine going, I'm going to stop myself there. This is the difference between the feminine saying, is there anything I could do versus, is there anything I could do to facilitate a change in the masculine? This is feminine going, that's not my responsibility. That's not my job. If they wanted to, they would. This is the feminine energy saying the true partnerships, the energies that truly want to move forward, the energies that have that intentionality. This is the feminine energy saying, I can't miss it. I wouldn't miss it. This is the feminine energy saying it's impossible to miss it. This is the feminine energy saying I'm manifesting the energy of masculine that has the type of energy, the type of intentionality that I don't have to worry about it because I can't miss it. It's so self-evident, I can't miss it. This is the feminine energy saying if I'm struggling to wonder what the intentionality of the masculine is, that's not my manifestation goal. Because that is not my manifestation goal. If I'm wondering right now about where they are, that's not the energy I'm manifesting, because that's not the energy of the masculine having that intentionality, having that energetic consistency, having that combination of intentionality and consistency. That's what the feminine energy is manifesting. And the feminine energy is manifesting and saying, if a masculine energy isn't coming towards me with that, it's because the masculine energy isn't sure which direction they want to go into. Or they're afraid of committing to a single energy of feminine with that level or degree of commitment and conviction for fear of, again, when we move forward in a certain direction, we let go of other possibilities. This is the feminine energy saying, I'm taking that and I'm moving forward with it. That's all I need to say. And this could even be a lot of the feminine energy, potentially even now if in separation, if there's even something that feels like it's close. This is the feminine energy saying to themselves, if something feels close but no cigar, that's feminine energy saying, I'm getting closer to the target. This is the feminine energy remembering, if I'm moving forward right now and something is close, but it's not energetically there yet, this is the feminine energy not saying to themselves, not losing hope at that moment. This is the feminine energy being like things are whizzing by my head that are almost on the mark. This is the feminine energy saying I'm getting closer to what I'm hoping for. I'm already seeing energetic signs of it. It might not necessarily be here yet, but that's the feminine energy saying that doesn't mean that it's not coming. This is actually the feminine saying quite the opposite. This is the feminine energy saying I'm seeing someone, like this is almost feminine energy looking at someone saying almost there. You're almost there. Like you're almost energetically there. So what we see to a certain extent right now is a lot of that feminine energy building that sense of energetic commitment to themselves. Masculine energy in separation right now, one of the things that we're energetically seeing is masculine energy moving through these cycles. This is a moment that feels like the affirmation in relationality to what it is that you truly aspire and desire going forward. So for masculine energy in separation right now, this modality, this ability, this understanding, this adaptability, this sense of recognition, the intensity that you may have been feeling over the last few days with this eclipse cycle, building forth from feminine, from a place of honesty and openness. You may be understanding and recognizing. You may be feeling like you're halfway on that journey. Why is the masculine energy feeling like they're halfway on this journey at this time? Because we're seeing that for a lot of the masculine energy right now, being halfway on that journey may feel like, again, you feel like that hurdle. You're like, there may even be a moment of some energetic, or I want to describe this as like spiritual, it feels like the energetic catharsis, if you will, in recognizing and identifying what could be best described as the feeling of like being halfway there. This is all that keeps coming through on this. It's that feeling of being halfway there. That moment of having that halfway there point, if you will, that is being amplified in the feeling of saying to oneself, I'm looking towards the past. I'm seeing what needs to be modified. I'm seeing what needs to be adjusted. I'm making those changes. I'm almost there. I'm not yet there, because this is the masculine energy that's building a sense of energetic conviction, if in separation, in whether one is almost energetically ready. We see a lot of the energy of the masculine looking towards something and saying, am I energetically ready to do the type of work that is energetically necessary in order to move into divine union with someone? Because that is that moment of masculine potentially looking, feeling a lot of the connection of the feminine around them that may feel like it's almost energetically shallow. It's only going to a certain point, right? And this is masculine energy that's now feeling like some of the energetic connections around them, if they're maintaining a lot of energetic connections with feminine, they're almost energetically or spiritually shallow. This is the masculine energy that almost is immediately saying to themselves, am I expressing that? Is that the energy that recognizes and sees the fact that I'm not committing? And so they're only meeting me where I'm energetically giving them. So we see even now that for a lot of the masculine energy, that could feel like a lot of understanding that is helping build that pathwork in relationality to what you're committing to yourself going forward. So a lot of breakthroughs right now. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. This is that moment of feeling a lot of the past rising back up for a lot of the energy coming into the heart of the divine union frequency. But what's beautiful about this right now is it making anyone waver? No. It's taking that different tactic. If anything right now, this is more about the energy moving through situations or circumstances, breaking through past cycles, if you will, and now almost feeling like if there's anything energetically coming from back up from the past, it feels more like something that is like an energetic disruption point, right? It's not something that feels like an, oh good, look who's back kind of energy. It's more like an, what are you like it's that cautionary energy. It's that moment of saying like, listen, these are those moments of looking at something and saying like having that prioritization point in terms of how you want to navigate something or where you're moving forward is that express energy in terms of, again, having to redirect or to clarify the energy around you, like how much you have energetically changed, if you will, having come into the divine union frequency, or that moment that feels like that difference in the past coming back up and not feeling that directionality to want to rush back to it, but looking at it more from a place of clarity and observation, because this is the energy that's utilizing that pathwork of nostalgia to utilize that toolbox to help build that sense of correction going forward. Masculine and feminine in the heart of the divine union frequency. This is that modality that we're seeing and experiencing that is requiring a lot of internal assessment at this time. This could have even been some triggering situations that have occurred over the last few days with the intensity of this this energy. If something small came up, this is that moment of almost like energetically like looking at something and saying, do we need to navigate something that came up during this period? Because that's the gift of the energy, and the Mercury retrograde is amplifying something so that you can look at it more closely. It's easier to look at something when you feel it more. So if you don't let yourself get triggered when you're feeling something more, that gives you an ample gift of being able to investigate that feeling. So we see even now that a lot of the energy coming in the heart of the divine union frequency is coming into that sense of addressing and assessing something small to be able to navigate and say, is this something that requires that point of correction? What does that pathwork look like? How do we make sure that something small does not become something larger? Because that is the energy that, again, that path of fastidiousness is one that feels like you're in such harmony that even something small that somebody else might not even notice, you put like particular care of energy into that, because you realize that you're working in such fine attunement. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now between our Knight of Swords and our Four of Swords in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Queen of Cups. This is beautiful energy that we're seeing right now in the divine union frequency, because look at these counterparts, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. We've got masculine energy right now, feeling that reinforced conviction point, right? The past coming back up, but look what's happening. Masculine, taking new tactics to be able to energetically address things, either on a metaphysical level or in a very tangible way. Feminine, building a sense of emotional balance as the past rises back to the surface, either again on a metaphysical level or in a very tangible way, because these are the energies that are able to support one another through that work. That is why we see even now that ability in seeing something, taking something small and like immediately, seizing upon it, like not letting it become something bigger. That is that moment that the energy is, again, almost saying to themselves, nothing is not important, because this is almost energy that says from past experiences, that observational point that sometimes that thing that you say is not important can become magnified, and even potentially feeling that over the last few days is what is amplifying a lot of that directionality. And it feels like that point of being able to utilize past path work to build that valuable lesson. masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. This is a whole new energetic, this is like the first time you may be energetically doing this right now. For a lot of the energy coming into divine union right now, this could be like the first time something from the past is coming up in this way. But what's beautiful, and again, whether this is happening in a metaphysical way or whether it's happening in a tangible way, the beautiful fact is it's not shaking these energies, right? This is the feminine energy being able to look back on some past experiences with a level or degree of emotional balance, that resiliency that we talked about. Masculine, having a lot of energetic confidence in relationality to wanting to tackle something and address something, as opposed to, again, not letting, like, it feels that type of energy that becomes more protective. And that in itself is changing the way that one navigates a circumstance or experience. Why? Because these energies coming into divine union, their prioritization is not having anything disrupt the energetic partnership that they're creating together, either internally or externally. Masculine and feminine energy in separation. This is why we see right now that this is a deep, deep, deep energetic cycle, some deep lessons that came into play right now over this eclipse season. And this moment is where we see that is the affirmation of a lot of past path work being successfully applied, right? For feminine right now, even now experiencing, guys, we're in the middle of the retrograde with the eclipse on it. If you just went through this period and the past came back up, and if feminine was able to look at something with a level or degree of emotional balance, even if it was feeling intense, but not letting it make you reactive, just coming into that point of observing how you feel, reassessing, asking if you would do something differently, deciding if the only thing that you would do differently is try to affect the direction of the masculine, and then saying to yourself, I'm not going to do that because it's not my responsibility to help the masculine know which direction to move towards. This is the feminine energy that's almost coming into that sense of energetic patience, of saying, I'm not going to worry about missing something that's for me because I'm manifesting the type of energy that when they come towards me, I'm not going to energetically miss it. That's the intentionality. How can you miss something that's moving towards you with intentionality and honesty? You're not going to, right? Masculine energy in separation, and that even now, if there's feminine energy that is seeing something from the past coming back towards them, their assessment point is what that looks like whether it's bringing with it clarity and intentionality, or if it's coming back in the same form that may have led to some kind of separation to begin with, right? This is the feminine energy utilizing energetic discernment. Masculine energy, if you are in separation right now, this is again building up your own sense of energetic conviction. For the masculine energy in separation right now, a lot of this intensification process may be feeling like observing and ascertaining and saying to oneself, where does my heart lie? What direction is it pointing me in? I told you, it's like that compass coming online, and it's finally like it's narrowing down to what direction it feels like. And for the masculine energy in that modality right now, the big question here is this a moment? And this is where, again, the collective can only go so far. For masculine energy, if you had some kind of breakthrough that suddenly opened up pathwork and all these doors are open, and you suddenly realize you're like, I can't leave them all open because that's the minute that they all start closing on me. I need to choose a direction and stay focused and committed on my pathwork to it. The big question for masculine is, which direction does that go? Is that pathwork that takes you back into the past to try to come into some kind of modification point with the lessons that you now have in the present, but with a renewed sense of purpose and intentionality and honesty? Or is this a pathwork that is leading you to the forward, to the future, utilizing those experiences from the past to help build a better set of circumstances as you proceed forward from this point? So we see even now that there's a lot of that energy of masculine still doing that work in terms of determining which direction that is. Continuing to get clarification between our Four of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Two of Cups in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now. It's hard. Nobody can answer that question for you. Masculine energy, that's not something that you can look at outside the self. That's why I told you a lot of this masculine energy in separation right now, maybe going through what may feel a little bit like, I keep saying, breakthrough or a point of crisis can feel very similar depending on how you're energetically carrying it. That's going to change on a case-by-case basis, because that's almost that energy of having that dark night of the soul, if you will, going through that internal exploration, looking within the heart of oneself to say to oneself, what is it that I truly want? And for a lot of the energy of masculine and separation right now, this could be a bigger question that's happening around partnership. This could really be masculine saying, am I ready for partnership? This could be masculine energy and separation being like, I understand that the reason that partnerships in the past didn't work was because I was not prepared for intimacy. Am I prepared for intimacy now? Am I ready for that? Or am I still not energetically ready? The important thing that we're seeing right now for a lot of the energy of the masculine and separation is that observation point and saying, almost having that point of being able to say to oneself, I'm not energetically ready for the intimacy required to have a divine union. At least that is a moment of understanding of the self, right? That's not just pushing people away and being like, they're too clingy. I don't need that. That's that moment of masculine taking the accountability and saying it's a me thing. Nobody's too clingy. I might fear intimacy, right? If you feel like someone's too clingy, that could be that moment like, I'm not prepared for that level of degree of intimacy, right? Like that's the difference for a lot of the masculine energy doing this energetic path work right now is, again, not deflecting the work, not pushing the work on other people, taking it and bringing it within the self. Feminine energy in separation right now. This modality, this sense of feeling that, even now, potentially feeling energetic connections with some masculine energy. I told you, feminine energy is going through a process right now where they see the potentiality of all sorts of masculine energy around them. The problem with a lot of feminine energy right now is the moment of seeing the potential in something or someone, and being like, me seeing the potential in someone is not enough. Me seeing what could potentially be someone could potentially be is not enough to bring that forward. In fact, if I reach in too quickly before they've reached that energetic potential, I will arrest them. I could prevent them from coming into their potential. I need to step back and say to myself, the minute I say, oh, the potential's there, if I just know, this is the feminine energy going, no. If I can't see it, regardless of whether I can see it here, if I can't see it here, if I can't touch it, I can't look at that potential and say something is there, because maybe it is and maybe it will never come forth. Or maybe it's not there because someone needs to see it within themselves. It's not enough for the feminine to be able to see it in another. They need to see that the masculine energy has found it within themselves. So even now we see that for a lot of the feminine energy, this is hard. This is frustrating. Because it's not for the fact of the feminine not having that aspiration of someone finding themselves and thereby being able to find the feminine in the process. It's more of this moment. And even now it could be very frustrating because this could even be some feminine energy dealing with some energy coming back towards them that they see this possibility and potentiality in. But this is that difference between a feminine looking at someone and being like, have you energetically changed? Or are you coming back towards me in the same way? Or even for feminine with new connections being like, this looks like you're so close, but it seems like you might not be there yet, right? And so even now, feminine's taking a little bit of a wait and see approach with some of those new energetic connections to say, can you show, do you have that ability to bring forth what it is that you aspire and dream? Because your ability to articulate what it is that you inspire and dream and offer to me, that is the heart of a true intimate connection. Anything else is just trying to build a false connection. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union. This is the energy that has built that. They're sharing, look at this, they're sharing that energetic dream. They've reached the heart of intimacy. They're not just living around each other, they're building with each other. They're sharing that dream. And what happens when you energetically share that dream? The dream becomes the reality. Everything else feels like it's interrupting that energetic dream. So we see even now that when the energy has those things from the past rising up, it feels not like that energy is like having their dream come true because some energy from the past is coming back up. It feels like there's things that keep trying to interrupt their dream. Like that's that moment of someone being like, yeah, what are you doing? So we see here, it's all about where that ratio goes in relationality to the past. So we see that for the energy coming into the divine union frequency, this is the energy. It's like, can we both agree that this is not, that this is problematic, or this is difficult? Because this is that moment that feels like whatever's happening around the energy coming into divine union is not interrupting that dream. It's building it close. It's making it even stronger. Masculine and feminine energy that is in the heart of the divine union frequency. This is that point of being able to know one energetically with such discernment that you can tell whenever something is off. And this, even now, if there were over the last few days, if something reached some kind of energetic crescendo, if you will, that hyper focus thing, that feeling of something like amplifying, this is that moment that even if things are like feeling a little bit calmer, that's that moment of saying like, well, let's go back to that now. Because whatever that was, it's not that it wasn't there. It may feel like it's more manageable now, but it's feeling like it's going back down again. But this is something that needs to be navigated, because that's the gift of the retrograde and the eclipse energy is, amplifying something big, making it go back down again, but being like, oh, that's there. I saw it. Let's just take a little bit of a closer peek at it. Because that was that moment of being able to see something in a bigger way that usually is like more under the surface. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Two of Cups and its reversal and our Ten of Wands. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Five of Wands. I told you that intensity was going to cool off a bit, right? We've got that cool down that's happening now. Things are easing up, if you will. But what's beautiful about this for the energy and the divine union frequency, and this is why I told everybody not to get triggered by it, but just to utilize that as that pathwork of observing what was happening within the self versus what was happening outside the self. What is something that can be externally modified versus what needs to be internally changed. Being able to do that impressive work of being able to really focus and articulate on what an energetic disruption point is. Even now, if it feels like it's kind of easing back away, it gives you something to energetically act upon. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy in this modality, that is that moment that feels like, okay, you can readdress something now. You can look at something and say, the gift of that intensification point was being able to see something in a more clearer way, to be able to unpack something. And that is what allows that point of facilitating how to move forward. Like, what does that direction look like, right? And a lot of that may feel like a point of energetic catharsis today in terms of building that pathwork or building that plan. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. This is that energy, same energy. The only difference is it's not so much that, within oneself or within the counterpart energy. This is potentially going to feel like it's more on the outside, right? Because a lot of this energy is making a lot of plans. They're making a lot of changes. They're looking at a lot of things right now, and they're trying to bring forth that energetic dream that they feel in the tangible space. So it's a little bit of an easement point here, because it just feels like it's more practical as opposed to energetic or emotional. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is the energy that's basically, again, what's beautiful about the intensification of some of this period. It's not that the fact that there wasn't some possibility of potentially repeating some kind of past cycle, like we saw here, even now, something that felt like it changed a little, but it hasn't fully changed yet. Being able to discern what is energetically ready or what it still has to move forward, like what needs more time, is what is allowing a lot of the energy right now in separation to continue forth in that process of looking at something and saying to someone, this could be a lot of the feminine energy looking at someone and saying, I see a lot of energetic potential between us, but you need to want the same things I want. And that's not the feminine saying we need to have the exact same manifestation goals, if you will. This is almost that moment that we're seeing and identifying someone saying, I need to see your own ability to know what that is. Your own ability to articulate to me what your dream is what facilitates the ability of us moving into divine union together, because that's the ability of being able to share a dream And if you can't articulate on what your dream is, then that's not a moment that we're sharing a dream. You're just borrowing mine, or you're agreeing to mine for the sake of some kind of connection. That's why we see even now that that's feminine energy saying, I am looking for the masculine energy that has mastered the ability of intimacy, which is the combination of being able to move towards the feminine with authenticity and intentionality, being able to be honest, but also to be honest about what their purpose is. The feminine almost saying, utilizing, this is that discernment that we saw in the feminine in separation that even now may have felt so frustrating, because the feminine saying, it's not here yet, I'm not seeing it, but the feminine's seeing signs. What is the feminine seeing? If the feminine's seeing the signs of the masculine being honest, that's the feminine going, I'm getting closer to what I want energetically. Because that's the feminine almost seeing like and being like, there's energy of, I'm seeing signs of masculine energy that is on their healing journey. If they're giving me one half of that, and that's the feminine saying, I have to be energetically patient and not force that spring. But I also have to stay clear with my own intentions. Masculine energy in separation right now. Same exact moment, because this is the masculine energy that's kind of recognizing and saying, oh, if I have a lot of easy connections with feminine, but I'm not telling the feminine what my intentionality is, and if the energy connections feel like they're energetically shallow to a certain extent, that's a masculine having the energetic breakthrough and being like, feminine is a well. Feminine can get as deep as you want them to get, but feminine is not going to bring you to the deep end if you're not going to get deep with them. This is the feminine energy. This is like the masculine energy, realizing and recognizing that if you're moving with a lot of the feminine energy that doesn't seem like they want that intensity, but you also feel like you're not building a deep connection with them, that's because the feminine energy is seeing that in you and being like, okay, you can stay on this side of the pool. This is where we keep the energy that like wants to stay over here. No, you can't go over there. No, that's not, don't worry about that. And that's because the feminine energy is looking towards the masculine and saying, again, the feminine energy is not going to build that openness and intimacy towards masculine if the masculine hasn't shown the ability to do so within the self. Because that's, again, the feminine energy basically, and this is a masculine energy potentially recognizing past experiences where, again, if there were disruption points between you and the feminine, it's because the feminine wanted to go deeper, but they didn't see that intentionality point in you. And even now, there's a lot of energetic unpacking that's happening for masculine. But what's beautiful about this is a lot of this masculine energy, if you're in separation doing this work, you're taking accountability on why. You're not just saying, oh, the feminine's always like that. You're saying, if the feminine's always like that, am I always like that to the feminine? Am I always like that to the feminine? There's got to be a common denominator. If I'm looking towards all the feminines around me, I'm going, all the feminines are like that. Are they all like that? Or is there a common denominator in all the feminine energy that you encounter? So we see even now that for a lot of the masculine energy, recognizing the difference between what is external, what you've been experiencing, versus what is internal, what you've been giving forth. This could be a moment that feels like a point of deep energetic self-correction, because that's that moment of saying to oneself, if this keeps happening, like, and there's a common denominator, like, where's the common denominator? Like, like that's that moment of masculine saying, if I want something different, I need to be able to change. I need to be able to do that work. I can't, if you want to go somewhere, you have to go somewhere. If you want to meet someone, you have to be someone. You have to become those things. You have to find within yourself and bring them forth to be able to, and this is the moment of the masculine saying, they could have been around me the whole time. They weren't showing that side to me because I wasn't showing that side to them. And so this is why we see even now masculine coming into a better sense of themselves. This is the journey of the masculine saying, I need to become the person I want to be, because that's not me saying I'm going to find like a better person. This is masculine being like, the people around me could be completely different people, and I'm just not seeing that side of themselves because they're, if I'm not intimate, they're not going to be intimate with me. If I haven't done this work, they're going to be energetically protecting themselves from me. This is the masculine doing that beautiful work of recognizing the internal process of what we need to change. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. You're doing this work together. You're doing this work together. And even now, it's that moment that anything that you're energetically leaving behind as you do that work, you're looking at and saying, I understand why now. And even now we see that that's not energy blaming the energy like from the past and saying that energy wasn't ready. That's the energy taking mutual accountability, saying they weren't perfect, but I wasn't perfect either. Right? And so this is that work that we see in terms of the energy feeling, that sense. What is the affirmation of the energy coming into the divine union frequency? I'm going to say it again. You make it easy. And I know how hard it is to make something easy. Finding the ability to find someone that makes something easy is the hardest thing in the world, because it usually means that we've done the path of the self to find the energy that can match us at that vibration. Energy in the heart of the divine union frequency. This is why we see that the energy is utilizing such a heightened degree of discernment right now, especially if there was something small that felt like it was amplified over the last few days, because the ability to recognize and identify the intensity of the energy doesn't mean even if something is dying down right now, it wasn't there. Give you that moment, be like, what was that? You know, because that's that moment of feeling something and saying, like, the energy got amplified for a minute and then went back away. That is that moment that helps one see something with a little bit more clarity. And we see even now that that's that moment of the energy utilizing that and saying, like, let's take this into consideration. Let's address this. Let's observe this. Let's see what this is. Because that is that energetic unpacking, if you will, that where, again, the energy in the divine union doesn't leave a stone unturned, because that is that energetic moment of saying, you know, let's face those things together. Let's uncover those things. Let's do that work, because that's that energy that wants to come into that state of doing the hard work to continue to make something easy, right? You have to do hard work to make something easy. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our 10 of Wands in combination with our 3 of Cups in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. 2 of Swords in its upright. And this is why we see even now that for a lot of the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency, it doesn't feel like it's a moment. I'm telling you, this feels almost like a lot of energetic calibration that is happening right now. And I told you, what is that energetic calibration, if you will? The discernment point between what feels like it is a point of accommodation outside of the self versus something that you can adjust and modify from within, right? Navigating and recognizing and understanding that when we move towards a manifestation goal, it's not going to change how we energetically feel. So we have to make sure that we're feeling in a state or space that we're happy and content with, because that's that moment of, again, any direction you go in, there you energetically are. So that's why we see that a lot of the energy right now in the divine union frequency is almost saying, what can we do? If there was something that felt like it was an energetic disruption point over the last few days, especially with the amplification of this eclipse energy, that is that moment of discernment and saying and recognizing and seeing something to a certain extent and saying to oneself, you know, is this an energetically comfortable place to inhabit? If that was something that felt like it was intense, but it was feeling like it was something that is like always creating that dissatisfaction point, that is that moment of feeling something within that says, like, I am energetically unsatisfied at this time, versus something that felt like that point of energetic accommodation and saying, I am unsatisfied with like this location or this, like, that is the difference between like a pickiness versus feeling internally that sense of like contentment. So we see even now that that ability to recognize is being amplified with the sense of identifying and seeing to a certain extent and saying to one another that need and desire to be able to move forward and do that energetic hard work, but feeling energetic joy as you do so, i.e. moving in harmony. That is the difference between experiences, between someone like energetically caring a lot, but feeling profoundly happy as they do so, versus the energy of someone who could be taking the same exact load on and feeling like every step is a nightmare. That's not something that is like universal. It changes on a case-by-case basis. This is why we see that a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency is saying to oneself, utilizing that pathwork of discernment and saying, are you good? No. I mean, like, are you good? Is this a space that you feel joy in inhabiting? Because that's the energy that says, I want you to be energetically happy. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union frequency. This is that sense of having energetically found that counterpart energy. And what happens when you find that counterpart energy? You're willing to go like to great lengths for the to do everything you can to maintain the energy of that counterpart energy, because that's that moment that it feels like everything externalized is the hard part. This is the energy that like can't put enough weight on each other. And that's that moment that feels like the expression of love that says like, I would do anything for you. And the love's response is, but I would never ask you to. Because this is the energy being like, but I really would. And I'm just doing that because I want to, right? That is that energy, if you will, that feels to a certain extent, even now, like that point of wanting to like do everything possible. Like this is a lot of energy, like really setting plans into motion. And what's interesting, I told you there may have been a slowdown point. This is why I told you guys over the last couple of days, don't go ahead and make any hasty plans, because that intensity you were feeling may have led to someone like really like just jumping like forward and now being like, whoa, like pulling back a little bit now and being like, well, we're still going to do that. We're just going to do it in a slower fashion. You know what I mean? This is like the type of energy we saw during the eclipse of someone being like, let's elope. Oh, you know, maybe we don't elope, but like, let's still do that. Let's just not do that. Like, you know what I mean? It's like that type of energy. Masculine and feminine energy that is in separation right now. This is the energetic patience. This is the energetic patience that we see is coming into play. And what's beautiful about this right now is for both masculine and feminine energy, this is more of that compassionate energy that we saw that was leading to a lot of difficult separation events over the last few months coming into play with new energetic connections, right? Because this is the feminine energy of the feminine, like almost manifesting and saying, I am manifesting masculine energy that shows me an ability to choose a path, that shows me an intentionality in identifying and recognizing their path and being able to articulate what they feel like that path is. This is the feminine energy saying, if the energy of the masculine, I just want the ability for the masculine to be able to articulate on what they see ahead. And if that, and the feminine energy basically saying, if this is masculine energy, that either can't do that because of a fear of intimacy, a fear of opening up about their dream, or if it's because the masculine doesn't want to relinquish the possibility of other paths by telling me what that dream is. Feminine's basically saying it's all the same in the wash. It doesn't matter if that's happening due to the masculine being afraid or due to the masculine intentionally trying to obfuscate that path work. Feminine says either way, it's the same. The feminine's like, that means that the solution is the same in either context, which is the feminine saying, I need to be patient and wait for the energy that shows me that they're ready to do so. And then I will proceed forward from there, right? It's like literally the feminine saying, it doesn't matter what the reason is. I don't need to go digging to understand the why. I just need to observe that it is the case and energetically move on. So this is the feminine energy moving into that modality right now. Masculine energy in separation. This is that modality that may be feeling like the amplification of needing to make an energetic choice, because you may also be recognizing and identifying if there's a lot of the feminine energy that is keeping you at an arm's distance. That's potentially because they don't see your own ability to energetically commit to a path work. And again, regardless of whether that's because of your own fear of building the sense of intimacy necessary to truly express your dream towards the feminine, or if it was something that you were intentionally doing, you're recognizing and realizing it really doesn't matter which, because one becomes the other becomes the other. You're basically the same, right? If you're reasoned, and this is what's so difficult for the masculine energy. I got to say, this is actually, I'm really, really, really sorry for the masculine energy that's recognizing this. Because if this is masculine energy that doesn't reveal this due to fear, it's suddenly realizing that you look exactly the same as the masculine energy that may do so intentionally. And so for masculine energy recognizing and realizing that may feel very, very difficult. So that could be a moment that we see that a lot of the masculine energy may be trying to build some point of energetic courage, if you will, because that's that moment of saying, I don't want to be misunderstood by a feminine that feels like my fear of being intimate is putting me in the same box as the energy that may come towards feminine and intentionally not try to tell the feminine what their dream is. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, between our Queen of Cups in combination with our Moon card. May I please have one card to clarify? clarification coming through right now with our star energy and its upright. So this is the feminine energy, again, having a lot of work right now, if in separation, coming into a point of valuing the feminine's own self. And what's beautiful about this is the feminine working through a moment of finding a point of not putting their own energy towards masculine in this way, seeing the masculine going halfway through their journey and saying, I can't guide you out of that. You need to show an ability to come through it your own way, because this is the feminine energy basically saying, I will be here on the other side. This is the commitment of the feminine towards a masculine going through this journey. This is almost the feminine energy saying to the masculine energy, if you're actually doing this work, if you're confronting your own fear to be able to admit to me what your dream is, rest assured I will be on the other side of it. But that's the feminine saying, I can't guide you forward, because if I guide you forward in a moment that you're feeling the fear for revealing your dream, you will never find the courage to ever tell me how you truly feel. Or if you're moving in that space where you're trying to intentionally not tell me your dream because you don't want to prioritize me, I'm not going to guide you forward because I'm giving you more impetus to continue doing so. This is a feminine energy feeling the conviction point and saying, I'm doing the right thing. Regardless of what the reason is, the answer is the same. I know that this is the right way to move in either situation. Masculine energy in separation right now, and that's the feminine energy observing both circumstances with deep energetic compassion. Masculine energy in separation right now, if these are moments or modalities wherein you are going through what may be best described as an energetic breakthrough point or a dark night of the soul, which is either being articulated and feeling like, again, a point of having an energetic breakthrough, coming to a lot of personal understanding, trying to build new, authentic, energetic connections with feminine. And you're recognizing and identifying that you're still feeling that energetic fear in opening up to feminine about what your dream is. This is the masculine energy potentially recognizing and identifying and saying, I need to have empathy and recognize that if the feminine energy is keeping me at a distance, it's because my fear makes it seem like it's not because I'm too afraid to be intimate. It makes it seem like I'm intentionally trying to do so. This is the masculine going, there's no way for the feminine to tell which one that is. There's no way for the feminine to tell if I am not brave enough to come forward in this way, or if I'm doing this specifically as a way to mislead or beguile the feminine. That's a masculine saying, oh my goodness, I potentially look like the thing that the feminine energy is afraid of because I am afraid. My fear transforms me into the thing that the feminine fears the most. So we see even now that for a lot of the masculine energy going through that journey, recognizing and identifying that that is facing the energetic fear of intimacy by identifying that when we don't face our fears, we become the thing that we're most afraid of. So we see even now that for a lot of the masculine energy going through that journey, that deepening understanding may be the amplification point in building, again, a more authentic connection with feminine, because that's that moment in saying, I understand now. And that's either that point of understanding that allows for a breakthrough point and being able to repair past connections, or it allows for a repairment point and being able to build forth in new investment and connections. And it starts masculine with you coming into that state and saying, I want to be brave enough not to be the thing that the feminine energy fears. And the only way I do so is by confronting my own fear. Masculine and feminine energy that's coming into the divine union frequency. Feminine, this is you feeling the connection of intimacy with a masculine that has conquered their own fear, that leads forth with building that dream with you, that is open and vulnerable with that dream. And what does that create for the feminine? That creates a feminine energy that is able to be energetically resilient and also feeling the safety and security in being vulnerable. Why? Because the masculine has given the feminine the gift of their own energetic intimacy by building forth, by revealing their dream, by keeping that open space, in building and space and saying, it's not that I don't have secrets, it's that our secrets are shared. We are building together. There's nothing here that I don't want to reveal to you because it's all ours, right? That is the domain that is created in that type of intimate connection, because when you build upon true intimacy, it's that moment that when you learn more, you just become more and more invested, right? Because that's that moment that even it's not the fact that there aren't things there that you don't, that it's not that there aren't things there that you don't know. It means that there's always new ground to energetically explore. And you don't do that out of fear. You do that out of excitement. You do that out of possibility. You know, it's like a book that has deeper and deeper pages, because the more that you investigate in yourself, the more that you can investigate in another. So we see here that for the feminine energy experiencing that right now, that deepening energetic moment, even now, facing experiences from the past that may be rising up as you're coming into divine union, it doesn't feel like doors are closing. It feels like it's this opening, like the closets are opening. And that moment of sharing that together, again, fortifies a partnership. While as for masculine and feminine and masculine energy, having that moment, recognizing the intimacy, leading forth from that place. Even now, the more that you open up to feminine, the more feminine opens up to you. That is that continual exploration. So even now, at a time that may feel like the intensity and things from the past rising up, either on a metaphysical level or on a very practical level, either way, it doesn't feel like it's tearing you apart. It feels like it's like excitement, because you're like finding out the tea on your favorite person. Like you're going deeper with someone in that space or place of being able to just get more and more invested in that energetic conversation. Masculine and feminine in the heart of the divine union frequency, you're already like moving in this way. What's interesting about this period right now for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency is this moment of getting to the heart of anything that feels like it's potentially energetically problematic. Because what we're effectively seeing right now for a lot of the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency right now is that ability to identify, that ability right now to really feel that intensity of energy. And if it created that sense of discomfort, if it created that sense of disharmony, if it even led to a trigger point, being able to identify that and say, that's still there. Whatever that was that came up over the last few days, that's something that like that mountain that was a molehill, but that's back to being a molehill, that's still there. It just gave us a little bit of clarity on what was going on under the surface. And that's why we see even now, like that's a little bit of that energetic gift, because that's that moment of being like, okay, I saw something and now I see something, and now we can energetically address it. So that's that moving of even a moment that if that intensity over the last few days created a disruption point, it feels like a blessing. It feels like a gift, because it creates that sense of seeing something that may be energetically more difficult to see in other situations or contexts. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our moon card in combination with our 5 of Wands in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through we got a lot of action cards here. I gotta say, for like a Mercury retrograde period right now, a lot happening. It's you know what it is? This is going to be a little bit of a wacky Mercury retrograde, because we've got all this eclipse energy happening around it right now. Because what we're effectively energetically seeing is what are we seeing right now? For a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency, what is the gift of seeing something amplified over the last few days, even if it was energetically problematic? It creates something that feels like it is energetically functional, because it shines an energetic light on something that may have been harder to see. Like that gift of energetic clarity that potentially rose forth in the time of even like those intense situations or circumstances that may have, like, I told you guys not to let them trigger you, but even if they did trigger you, that moment is creating that space or place of being able to identify and articulate what you need to do or how you need to facilitate a change, having to be able to work through that. And whether that's something that is happening on the internal side right now, some kind of internal breakthrough that you are having at that intensification point around like your own manifestation goals or your own happiness, or if it's something that you feel like you can tangibly facilitate or act upon right now, I told you not to make any hasty decisions over the last few days. But now is that time of being able to take something with that sense of like observation and insight and utilize that to help set that direction going forward. right? That is that plan coming into play. That's that path work of taking something, taking what may have even felt like a potential negative at the time and utilizing it as some kind of energetic positive. That is what we're effectively seeing to a certain extent. And that ability to do so is like at the heart of the divine union frequency. But it also requires, and this is why we see even now, that level or degree of fastidiousness, if you will, because that's that moment that feels like the energetic amplification point in saying, like, that sense of being able to like say to another energy, like, I know you. I can tell when something's wrong. I can tell when something's off. Let's not diminish that. Let's explore that, because that's the energy almost saying to one another, I care enough that I want to be able to do what is necessary to make sure that we're like not just, together, that we're energetically together. That like that directionality that we experience isn't one that is just on the surface. It's one that we're feeling internally and deeply from within. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency right now. This is that energetic breakthrough point that's happening right now, potentially at a time that there may either be like metaphysical things from the past rising to the surface because of the eclipse, because of the Mercury retrograde, or very practical things from the past. And this is that moment that we see that feels like a bit of like what happens, like what is the real energetic shift when something from the past comes back, but it doesn't find you in the same place or space that you were before. Right? It's like one of those moments that we're seeing that a lot of the energy right now from like in the coming into divine union is like having those moments of someone being like, you've changed, and someone else being like, well, you haven't changed at all, right? Because that's that moment of being like, yeah, we're supposed to change. Like that's that moment that feels like that is how the closure point is potentially being reached for a lot of the energy. And that's the beauty of some of this retrograde period, is potentially experiencing or feeling something coming into divine union and being like, oh, no, nothing here has changed. This is actually the same thing that's happened. I've changed. I don't feel that weight. I don't feel that heaviness, right? That ability to see or feel and experience something in a different way is the amplification of closure, because that's the moment of feeling something from the past rising up and realizing that it no longer feels like it has the same energetic power over you to a degree, right? That's that moment of being able to feel something there that says like, I've energetically moved on. And what's happening for a lot of the energy at the heart of the divine union frequency is this moment or experience wherein you're feeling that amplification point in feeling like you're sharing that dream with another person. And that internal clarity of that shared dream is propelling you forward right now. And it's creating a healing moment. The things that were like holding you back or holding you caught within them feel like it's like those nets are loosening, because that's that moment that like you're just not there anymore, right? It's like you're just not energetically there. Masculine and that feels like that is that moment that feels like it's not the fact that the past doesn't have some kind of energetic impact on you, but your relationship to it amends or changes that moment. Because that's that moment of feeling like it's something that you're carrying with you instead of being caught within. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is the energy that's feeling very, I'm going to say it's not as much of that catharsis point completely, but it's that point of energetic acceptance, right? That energetic acceptance, if you will, that's allowing you to do that work. Even now, because a lot of this energy in separation, it's not the fact that, like, look, a lot of this energy in separation is still looking back on some past circumstances or situations and wishing for something different, right? We see that here. But the energy is not getting caught. This is the opposite in the fact that the energy is not mistaking a wish for a reality, especially the feminine, which is the feminine almost like doing a lot of internal healing right now in saying, if I have a dream and masculine didn't share that dream with me and I still have the dream, the reason I'm grieving is because that is the sense of wanting to share the dream with the masculine, and the masculine showing me in some way that they were not capable of sharing that dream with me. And that's the feminine immediately being able to heal that, because that's the feminine saying, I still have that dream. That dream still exists, I just haven't found the energy ready to meet me in that dream space. That's the feminine saying, I still have the dream. Like, that's the feminine going, I just need to find the energy, the masculine, that's willing to do that same work. And the feminine saying, if I'm holding space for anything from the past that hurts, the feminine saying to themselves, it's not because I miss that person. I miss the energetic dream that I wanted to have with them. I could see it. It was there, the potential, the possibility, what we could have had together. I still have that dream. That dream still exists. And so that's why we see that for a lot of the feminine energy, seeing a masculine coming towards them and they seem like they don't know what their dream is. Feminine's like, I can't give them my dream again. Feminine's like, I need to see a masculine that's mastered the ability to be intimate or honest enough of being able to share their dream with me, so then that way we can share our dream together. And so we see right now that for a lot of this work, a lot of this energy coming into play, if you will, that's the feminine energy again, saying, and even building now that point of saying to masculine, building connections with masculine and saying, I see possibility here. I see that budding of possibility here. But this is the feminine saying, I'm not going to rush in too soon until I see the fact that you've been able to find that ability to do so. Masculine energy. If you're in separation at this time, and this is that moment or modality that we see that you're going through in separation, wherein you yourself are doing a lot of that work, having that energetic breakthrough point, potentially even recognizing and identifying, if there are spaces or places in the past where you had these disruption points with feminine, or you felt like the feminine was not being open to you, you have to ask yourself, did I share my dream to the feminine? Right? Because if that was a moment that the feminine became more elusive or pulled away from you because they felt like you weren't sharing your dream of the future with them, that's a masculine realizing that was a feminine like giving up energetic hope, if you will, because that was the feminine feeling, again, when masculine comes towards feminine without revealing or being honest about their dreams. Feminine's either seeing masculine that's coming into a state or space of being too afraid to reveal their dreams, making it impossible to build with them going forward, or a masculine who intentionally obfuscates their dreams because they don't truly want to build with feminine in the first place. It's all the same in the wash. And for the masculine energy, recognizing and realizing that if you're trying to build forth with feminine and the fear's holding you back, there's no way to tell one from the other. The feminine will always potentially, to be safe, categorize you as someone who may be intentionally obfuscating that. That is that moment that may be bringing forth with masculine that sense of an urgency, if you will, in being able to do that work, because that's that moment that feels, again, I don't want to be misunderstood. I don't want the feminine to be afraid of me. I don't want to become the thing that the feminine fears, because that's the moment that says the masculine realizes that says, if I'm too afraid to reveal a dream to feminine, what does separate me from the masculine energy that just doesn't reveal it because they don't want the feminine to know what they truly dream, or they're trying not to build forth with feminine. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Five of Wands in its reversal and our Two of Swords. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now with, that's heavy. That's heavy. That's energetically heavy. And this is why we see right now, even now for a lot of the masculine energy going through this process, this could be a moment that feels like a lot of energetic weight, because there may be a lot of understanding coming into play. But there's almost like that sense of like, again, what did I tell you? The difference, the oppositional weight between like a breakthrough and a crisis is basically how you carry it. So making sure masculine, I'm going to say this again, if this masculine energy that's just coming through with this point of understanding, identify and recognize that any past version of the self that brought you forth to this point, that was also a blessing, because that is the energy that helped you have a breakthrough. You have to hold grace for the energy that brought you forth from this point if you're healing, because you're always going to look back and you're going to wish that you had done something different, because that is the gesture of healing. Learning. It's painful. That's wisdom. So we see even now that for a lot of the masculine energy, having that point of observation, that clarity, it's all about how to move forward from it. Because understanding something and choosing what to do with it, having that point of clarity in terms of assessing like what you want to energetically change, what you feel like you're energetically ready for right now. This could be that moment that we're seeing to a certain extent that feels like that, like this is that moment that like a lot of this has to be navigated in terms of feeling like what direction that comes into. Because for this is that moment of either wanting to bring healing to spaces or places where this may have occurred, or recognizing and identifying that this is currently happening and wanting to facilitate that stopping point going forward. It still requires the same work. Having that energetic bravery to be able to speak from your heart space, building that ability to become intimate towards the feminine, and not intimate in a physical way, and not intimate just saying honesty, but intimate in being able to be honest about what you energetically dream. Feminine energy coming in separation with masculine. This is the feminine energy that's seeing right now, potentially even identifying masculine energy that's halfway through doing this work. This could be the feminine energy seeing some masculine that's like halfway on that journey. But even this is the feminine energy that like, feels that frustration point, because that's the difference between feminine seeing someone and being like, I want to energetically help them. I just want to give them I would love that possibility to be there. But this is the feminine energy that, again, is stopping themselves and saying, I can't. Because to see someone halfway through that journey, to see someone like working through that, but they're not energetically there yet. That's the feminine saying, if I go in too soon, I'm either going to stop them on their own healing journey, which they could inevitably, like they might never get to the other side of that because of me stepping in that way, or they are not on a healing journey, right? That's the feminine saying like, I can't even identify the difference between the two. And that's why the feminine says, I need to wait. I need to see that they have that ability. If this is a moment of the masculine being too afraid, then this is the feminine saying, I have to see that the masculine can overcome their own fear, because that is the feminine feeling a masculine that can truly protect the feminine, even from the masculine's own fear. Masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union right now. This is wanting to get rid of any of the energetic headaches that you feel like make partnership difficult. Because this is the energy that is just found like, this is the reshifting of prioritizations, if you will, in terms of recognizing and identifying that sense of wanting to like, energetically protect what you've created with another. And so for a lot of the energy right now, this is making a lot of changes. And some of those changes feel chaotic, but a lot of it is that externalization point in wanting to make something easier going forward that is amplifying that feeling of energetic commitment. Because that's like making plans and people are like, we're so happy for you. And you're like, this is exhausting. We're just doing it because we need to, but thank you. Because like, I know it's like positive, but it's more like, it feels more like trying to get the difficulty out of the way. Masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, in divine union. This is the energetic equivalent of, again, whatever was that intensification point over the last few days, helping to identify whether that was something that was happening on the internal side or whether that was happening on the external side. Because that is the amplification point in really valuing and feeling something, to identify if that is something that if you're feeling like that's something that you can navigate, something that you can continue to internally work on, that's something that you can change within the self, right? That type of internal work can always be navigated and worked through. If there's something external here that feels like it's moving you off your path, that's something that needs to be adjusted or accommodated for. So we see even now like that level or degree of discernment is occurring right now for the energy at the heart of divine union frequency, to feel again that point of saying, is this something within me? Or is this something that can be changed without? And so these energies are almost like doing a lot of that energetic unpacking right now by talking about how they're feeling, but doing so without wanting to burden each other with something that they're energetically feeling that is not something that can be changed or adjusted. And this could even be the energy talking about that and saying, this is a me problem. This is something I'm working through. This is something I'm unpacking, versus that energy of not wanting to come into a state or space of being like, you don't want to like be like, I'm feeling something inarticulate and I'm going to try to project it outwards, right? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our star energy and our 8 of Wands. One card to clarify, please. clarification coming through right now with our not. Here we go. We keep getting all of these 9s and 10s cards the last few days. We've got here double 9s out today. 9 of Pentacles. So again, we're back on that point. We've been seeing this heavily over the last few days. This is why the energy in the divine union is being so extremely fastidious over all of these. Why is this energy going through this over and over? Why is the energy in the divine union frequency sweating the small stuff? Why is the energy in the divine union frequency taking something small, seeing something magnified, wanting to go back and to address it, leaving no stone unturned? Because this is the energy in the divine union frequency that is observing that what one is moving towards is one thing. How one is experiencing it is an entirely different one. And that's why we see even now a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency is utilizing the power of intense communication and conversation to try to ascertain whether that's a moment of experiencing that energetic intensity that feels like it was the amplification of positive, or if it was creating the amplification of anxiety, because that is that moment that feels like the differentiation factor between what could feel wonderful for one person. You guys could be going through the same experience. One person could be having the time of their lives. The other person could be like the opposite of that. And that ability to say, are we energetically in the same space, and be honest? Because there's a moment that you require that honesty and that intentionality at the heart of the divine union frequency. And it requires an honesty, not just with the other person. The honesty needs to start with the self. The honesty needs to start in here. Because if we're not honest in here, we'll never be honest out there. If we're not honest in here, whatever we put out here is never going to be honest, because we weren't being honest with ourselves when we lead something forward. So we see even now there's a lot of the energy inside the heart of the divine union frequency saying, are you being honest with me, and are you being honest with yourself? Because that is the energy saying, that is that moment of saying, like, are you moving towards what your heart desires? Or are you moving out of alignment with it, right? Like, that is important, because that's the difference between moving towards a manifestation goal versus feeling the joy and the gratitude and the happiness of experiencing that. If you're moving towards manifestation goal to manifestation goal and you're miserable the whole time, you're never going to find that happiness on the other side of the manifestation goal. And that's what the energy, again, in the heart of the divine union frequency is almost trying to articulate to one another and saying, like, are you energetically happy now? Continuing to get clarification, and that is that moment of saying, if not, what do you do to try to facilitate that? What needs to be adapted? What needs to be changed? How do we expand the happiness? And that starts by identifying what isn't happy. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union frequency, this is feeling the happiness. This is feeling the abundance. This is feeling that energetic joy with another person, even in the face of situations or circumstances that may have amplified some sense of energetic disruption. Even in the face of energy right now from the past, wielding up either metaphysically or tangibly. This is the energy that's saying, like, that's that feeling of energetic contentment, if you will, that feels like indomitable to a certain extent, because this is the energy that isn't being affected by it. They're just moving around it, right? That's that energy of just being like, just going through it, you know, like, and it doesn't matter, because like the energies is like, it's not losing their directionality. It's just continuing. Like, that's that moment that feels like energetic contentment, because that's that moment of just progressing forward. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is that modality that we're effectively seeing in separation. And what's lovely about this energy is this is a lot of energetic contentment or catharsis that is coming through right now in separation. For feminine energy specifically, because this is feminine energy right now. Again, if this is a feminine energy that's feeling like there's a lot of things around them right now that's like close but no cigar, this is a feminine energy saying, I can't get frustrated when that happens. I got to feel joy when that happens, because that means I'm getting closer to what I'm seeking, right? Like, if there's a lot of things, like if there's a lot of energy around you right now, feminine, but it's like, you know, almost there, but not quite. This is a feminine energy building that sense of saying, it's not my job to go in and fix the energy that's not there yet. This is a feminine energy saying that means that a lot of energy is getting closer to it. Like almost there, keep going, a little bit further, because that's the energy of the feminine saying this is like that sign to a certain extent of seeing and experiencing. If this is feminine energy that was moving away from situations where they felt like the masculine needed to heal, and now they're seeing masculine energy that's honest. So they're like halfway on the healing journey, but they're not quite there. This is the feminine energy going like, this is a good space to be, right? This is the energy of the feminine going, this is me being on my way towards where I'm trying to go, right? This is like, oh, look, things are moving in the right direction. If things are moving in the right direction, that means I must be headed in the right direction. Masculine, and that in itself, while it may be difficult, the feminine is letting that be a moment of energetic catharsis. Masculine energy, if you're doing this type of energetic work and you've had this moment and you're realizing and saying to yourself, if I'm being open and honest with the feminine, but the feminine's still keeping me at an energetic distance, and you just came into the point of recognizing and identifying that going towards the feminine from a place of honesty, but without revealing or opening up to the feminine about your most intimate dream, about what your true dream is for partnership going forward. And then you suddenly recognize and realize that the feminine energy is putting a little energetic distance there. And then you energetically realize that if your fear is what's holding you back from doing so, it's almost impossible for the feminine to realize the difference between that fear versus someone who's intentionally not desiring to move forward with feminine, or does so intentionally to beguile or to try to, move the feminine out of alignment. Then this is the masculine feeling even more validated on your own energetic journey, because this is a moment of identifying and recognizing that your ability to face your energetic fear in doing so is one of the most valuable things you can do to protect any and all feminine energy. Feminine energy from the past, feminine energy from the present. If this is something that you want to correct, being able to move into that state or space of authenticity is the best thing that you can do in any way, shape, or form, because that's the moment of moving towards feminine and saying, my first and foremost goal is to protect you from energy that does not do so. Masculine and feminine energy. Continuing to get clarification on these cards. We've got here our Star card in combination with our 10, a 9 of Swords. Double nines out right now. Clarification coming through right now with Judgment in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is why we see even now, this is feminine energy, that if there's masculine energy that isn't coming towards feminine with that sense of clarity in terms of their purpose or their path work, this is a feminine energy almost again saying to the masculine energy, please don't misunderstand me. This isn't the feminine energy saying, it's not that I don't want a connection with you. This is a feminine energy almost saying, please say, like, when you are ready, if you are ready, this is what I'm seeking. I need to see that you have that ability to articulate on what that path work looks like. And that's the feminine energy basically saying, that's not me coming into a state or space of energetically rejecting you. That is the feminine energy trying to say to masculine, that's me having that's me having all the compassion possible that you will find, you will arrive at that destination. And I hope that I hope that I am the direction on the other side of it. Right? But this is the feminine energy saying, I'm not going to try to change. I'm not going to try to tip those scales. I'm not going to try to come into the space of energetically convincing you to do so. I'm the feminine saying, because I can't. Because this is the feminine energy basically saying, this is feminine energy saying, I've seen where that path goes. Right? This is the feminine energy saying, I don't want to make it feel like I have to make that decision for you. This is a feminine energy saying, I want to see you make that decision to move towards me. And understand that when you do so, that that is a choice that you're energetically making. Masculine energy, this is that moment that we may see that if you're in separation, this is something that you're weighing a lot of that heaviness on. Because we see that for a lot of the masculine energy in this modality right now, this ability to recognize, to identify there's a point here that may feel like if you're coming into a lot of these insights or understandings, it may feel like you're looking at a lot of past experiences with a different perception. And that perception, it may feel extremely energetically heavy, because that could be best articulated in potentially understanding why some kind of past experience, resulted in the way that it did. Or it could be a moment that your weighing of something here can be energetically corrected. So we see even now, I'm going to say this again, if this is masculine energy going through this work, remember to give yourself a little bit of healing here. Because when we move forward with a state of energetic healing, we don't move forward with an end goal. The healing is the end goal. The ability to say to oneself, I'm moving forward and I'm relinquishing the outcome because that is me moving where my heart guides me. That is the energetic healing moment, because that's either something that was facilitated by a connection with feminine, that you now understand why it's no longer, why you're no longer in connection, or it's something that's motivating you to be able to try to remedy a connection with feminine, that you now know what you need to bring forth or go back to be able to have a better outcome. So in both of these circumstances and situations, we are seeing that these are paths forward that are being led through a moment that may feel very energetically heavy, because it's a moment of either personal reconsideration or the desire for an energy around you to reconsider something, having now understood why something ended the way that it did, or where something is energetically. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. This is the energetic equivalent of, again, when you have a direction point, everything else needs to be changed. And what we're seeing for a lot of the energy right now, this is masculine energy coming into divine union. And this is the masculine energy just having that feminine energy kind of being their like, that's where their guidance systems pointed them. And this is a masculine energy that, like, even now, that's that moment of energetic correction point, because we see that for a lot of the energy coming into divine union, this is either a moment that, like, again, if the past is coming back up, there could be a moment of understanding and recognizing, like, that it now feels like that energetic gift, because it's keeping your path clear in terms of what you're moving towards right now. Or this is a moment or experience that, like, anything that feels like it's creating frustration, it's just building the bond between you and the feminine energy more. While for masculine and feminine, and for feminine energy in this modality coming into divine union right now, this is, again, seeing a masculine energy open up to you about their fears. Like, this is feminine energy even now. If this is masculine energy that talks to the feminine about what's bothering them, if this is masculine energy that unpacks those things, wanting to come into some point of like almost looking to the feminine to almost validate a lot of the choices that the masculine's making right now, this is the feminine energy feeling that valuable point of feeling that sense of a masculine. If this is a masculine that questions themselves, this is, again, the feminine saying, I don't question you, because you question yourself. Your own ability to take accountability for oneself is, to the feminine, almost showing and acting as a clear mirror to masculine and saying, you are someone that, can energetically be trusted, because you're always seeing yourself. You're always looking towards yourself with the harshest of lenses. And that's what makes you, like, that is the validation point of you being on an energetic healing journey. Because that's that moment of, like, again, the energy that feels like they're never doing good enough. Like, that's the energy of often being the person who's doing the most. Masculine and feminine energy that are in the heart of the divine union frequency. This is what is so difficult around this right now, because these are difficult conversations that have to do with the internal situations within one another. There's a moment that says, like, that point of internal acceptance and saying, I can't adjust how you feel internally. There's only one person that, can express, and you can't. This is almost the energy saying in the divine union, you can't control how you energetically feel either, to a certain extent. I mean, we all can to a certain extent. You know what I mean? This is one of those tricky territories. It's like we can control how we feel, but then we also can't control how we feel. You know what I mean? And I mean that to a certain extent, that, like, as we change, as we grow, we find ourselves where we are. And sometimes the places and spaces we find ourselves, we would prefer we weren't there. But coming into that acceptance point and understanding where we are, that's the ability to be able to ask oneself is like, is this feeling like something that is requiring or necessitating an energetic change? Or are these moments that are expressing just something that needs to be navigated as you go forward together, right? And that's some energetic heavy lifting. Like that's some real energetic work. And even now we see that may be allowing for some adaptability and some adjustments to be made. But that is also that moment that feels like an energetic act of compassion, if you will, because that's that moment that feels like it's coming from a state of authenticity and love and honesty. So we see even now that work of energetic discernment that's happening for a lot of the energy in the divine union right now, it is allowing for a lot of energetic catharsis in the meantime, because it feels even now like either this could be like energy that's like, you know, like recognizing points of accountability if there were trigger points that were hit over the last few days, or this is energy coming into a state of like modifying or wanting to have some kind of adjustments that are going to make things easier going forward. Final card for today's spread between our Nine of Pentacles in combination with our Judgment card in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with Six of Cups in its reversal. And I'm not surprised to see this card right now, because what we're effectively seeing at this time is for masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to is for the energy in the divine union frequency, this ability of being there for each other, no matter what. That is that moment that even now we see. That's why we see even now if there's like a level of like fastidiousness that's coming into experiences or situations, looking at something and saying like, are you energetically happy? What do we need to modify? Is this something around? Is this something external or internal? This is, again, wanting to navigate and make sure that you're coming into that path of correction to such an extent of making sure that you're still energetically on the same page. And that is difficult, right? Because when we go through these modalities of experience wherein we feel like we've changed so much, there are possibilities at times of recognizing that even there's some points that may feel like you've drifted too far away from one another. But what is this energy that's still in the divine union frequency doing if that happens? That's that moment of saying like, even in that moment of like something changing, that's that moment that the amplifies and says, that's not something that feels like an energetic like rejection point. That's almost saying like, how do you express that energetic compassion over and over and over again? Like it's almost that moment that like feels like, again, even at this point saying, let's make sure that we don't move out of that energetic frequency. Let's see if we can continue to maintain that point of being able to build upon what energetically works. And the ability to do that means that you can't just turn an energetic blind eye to what's not working, right? It's when you turn an energetic blind eye to what's not working, then that's that moment that starts feeling like that's like overwhelming. That ability to like really like face what feels like it's getting you out of alignment is exactly what's allowing you to do it, like to find the way or the space of like making the tangible changes or the internal changes to be able to find what like works energetically, because that's the energy saying the choice to maintain the frequency is like the prioritization point. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency, this is going to feel more energetically heavy right now, because a lot of this has to do more so with a lot of the energy surrounding the divine union frequency. This is a lot to do with the fact that even now we see that a lot of the energy right now coming into the divine union frequency is working through potentially a lot of tangible changes. And even as they come into the union, some of the energetic shifts that are happening, it's not the fact that some of those unhealed energies or frequencies from the past aren't rising back up. It's the fact that you're just not navigating them the way that you may have in the past due to the fact that your prioritization level has changed. Your priorities are different. That's where the closure is coming, potentially even allowing for some closure around something that may have felt open-ended in the past. This is almost that moment it says like, you know, Like the closure, like that's that moment of saying, oh, I don't need closure on that. I've already found closure in the present, right? Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This modality that we're seeing in separation is, again, being expressed. It is the feeling of not wanting to repeat cycles that led to unhealed energetic connections. That's why we see even now there's feminine energy, seeing some kind of opportunity potentially opening up right now. There could be feminine energy, seeing some energy right now of masculine coming toward the feminine, needing a little bit of energetic healing. Feminine being like, I could just, and this is the feminine pulling their hand back and going, I can't. If they're on the path to finding themselves, I can't go in there and pull them out of that. They need to show me that they have that ability themselves. And that's the energy of the feminine saying, that is hard because that's the feminine energy. Almost saying to the masculine, it's not that I don't want a connection with you, but it needs to be done on equal footing. We need to both share the same dream. And it needs to require you to know what that path is. Not one that you just like stumble upon me or you just jump onto what I'm doing. Like that's that moment of saying, let's move with intentionality together. Masculine energy, if in separation, this is that modality that we are seeing to a certain extent that, again, if this is a moment or situation where you're having some kind of energetic breakthroughs in terms of really understanding through building authentic connections with feminine that feel like you're building this like deepening level of understanding, you're also recognizing that that almost potentially feels like one half of the work, because the other half has to be you being able to do the work of being able to share your energetic dream with the feminine. It's not enough just to like take that wait and see approach with feminine and see what happens. This is the masculine realizing if you've taken that wait and see approach with the feminine, like in that way, feminine starts feeling like they have to do all the energetic heavy lifting. It doesn't lead to a balanced connection. This is the masculine energy saying to repair the connection with feminine. Honesty is one half of that. The other half is to be being able to really say what it is that you truly aspire and desire with a feminine, to be able to lay the healthy groundwork from the start. Because if that groundwork isn't laid properly, then everything else that builds upon it feels like it's fractured. It doesn't feel like it has a strong foundation. So this is the masculine energy either wanting to correct something and seeing that was potentially the problem around something that led to a fracture point, or this is masculine energy wanting to fix this within the self to prevent more unhealed connections from occurring in the future. Bottom of the deck on this reading today is Hangman in its reversal. This is beautiful. Masculine and feminine energy right now. You know, this is some of this post-eclipse energy. Just feels like this like lightning, like this vast lightning energy to a certain extent. And I see even now, like, you know, a lot of that, I want to put it this way. It's really, I'll put it, like, this is like that, you know, a lot of this like eclipse energy right now is just, it's giving a lot of this like just not wanting, like just wanting to come into a state of easement and I'm almost seeing here getting like extremely frustrated on the things that feel like they're not moving in that direction as easily. So I would say again, there's still a lot of possibility here potentially to be very triggered today. Specifically because I told you, that little bit of that scratchy sweater like feeling, it's still very much there. There's still a lot of sensitivity. So like when you're feeling that, it feels almost like it can feel so overwhelming that like your own tolerance level could feel like it's very diminished today. So again, now is not the time, I'm just going to keep saying this, now is not the time to be making any hasty decisions. Now is the time to talk about what those decisions might be or talk about how you're feeling. But recognize and identify that this intensification point may like create those feelings of just like wanting to be free of something if it's becoming too frustrating or something like that, because that amplification is helping you lay the groundwork in terms of where you need to move forward going forward. Remember, if you're feeling that heightened sensitivity and you weren't feeling that like a few days ago, rest assured that will pass. What you want to do instead with an energetic feeling like this, if this is taking something that you always feel and it's amplifying it, let it be a moment of observing what that is. because that's the gift of energy like this. That heightened sensitivity is almost a space or place that, as long as you're able to be comfortable in it, you can almost explore it to ask yourself, what is that? What is that I'm feeling? What is it that it's calling me to do? What am I like? What is that? Like, how can I best navigate that in a way that will actually allow for like energetic easement going forward, instead of just trying to like bypass the discomfort? That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here to experience it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, Strega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber name at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website, so I encourage you to do it there. Also, a couple of notifications I would love to let you guys know about. First and foremost, we are currently running a giveaway for a free 15-minute reading with me. All you have to do to enter that giveaway is fill out a 2-minute survey. You can find it in the link in my bio on my link tree. If you do that survey, it takes exactly 2 minutes. We are looking at setting up some tarot retreats. I would love to get your insight on where we should go. And if you do so, you will be entered into that giveaway. The first 50 people that fill out that giveaway will be entered into the contest. So I encourage you to enter, and I wish you the best of luck. Also, we are beginning classes. Our first class is going to be we are going to do a monthly class, card by card exploration of the tarot. Each month we will be having a class wherein we delve into a particular card, all of the nuances, all of the intriguing positions that it can go into, combinations, things of that nature. A lot of time for QA. I would love it if you guys would like to participate in that class. All you need to do to participate in those classes is become a subscriber to my Substack, graystrega.substack.com. Again, link is in my bio. Your subscription will grant you access to the monthly classes, as well as all of the recorded materials of those classes, as well as a private chat with me to answer any of your questions in relation to those classes before or after the class. Founding subscribers will also have included in their subscription a free 1-hour mentorship class with me, where we can break down where you are on your own tarot journey. I can give you some guidance on setting that path for yourself in a very unique way. This is the type of classes that are going to be great for both the seasoned tarot reader or for the absolute beginner. I'm so excited to be able to be offering this to you, and I hope you'll join us. Our first class will be on April 17th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. Just go ahead and find me on Substack and subscribe if you care to join us there. I hope you guys have an absolutely beautiful day. Please take care of yourselves. Please take care of each other. And we will do this again tomorrow.